Monte Jensen today. How are you, Monte?
I'm well, Art. Thank you.
Good, good, good. And for those of you that don't know it, Monte's over on the West Coast. So what is there, a 3-hour time difference, I believe?
Yeah, 3 hours.
All right. So Monte, why don't you give us a little bit of, I know you and I have known each other for a long, long time, but if you could give everybody a little bit of background.
Sure. I entered the industry about 20 years ago after working in fine dining restaurants. I was a general manager of fine dining restaurants for most of my life and was recruited out of a restaurant by Icon to go into management. And that's the first thing I did in the industry is I managed a sales team in downtown San Francisco. Did that for several years and saw the acquisition happening and wanted to go work for an independent. And I did that for many years and still work for an independent here in the East Bay in San Francisco called KBA DocuSys. Although KBA DocuSys was purchased by Kyocera about 3 years ago, but we do act as an independent under our name still. So yeah, 20 good years. And I met Art when I first was in the Icon program. I was looking for someone to network with that was outside of the San Francisco Bay Area. And I stumbled across the Print for Pay Hotel and the Rico Officio League where Art was a member.
Cool, cool. So since with KBA, do you guys just sell Kyocera or you sell other lines also?
Canon and Kyocera.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
Nice. So with, I guess, now that we're in a post-COVID, you guys are in a post-COVID in California finally, right?
Well, if you're paying attention to the news, we are the most locked down part of the United States. We officially left lockdown on the 15th of June.
Right.
So all restrictions were lifted, and the attitude here in California is becoming much more lax. So businesses are beginning to reemerge and start to reestaff, although many businesses are deploying a percentage of their staff remotely, and that will remain that way for long term.
Really?
Yeah, companies like Salesforce.com, Splunk. There's a number of other companies that have high profile. Google, another high profile companies that have a high profile across the world. They recognize the value of their workforce working remotely, and will continue to do so.
Right. As long as all of them can still be productive, I guess.
Yeah. Obviously, that's got to be the requirement of it, and as long as they're able to accomplish their job, I would guess that somewhere between 20 and 40% more workers will be working from home. I've worked from home for the last 15 years, so I wanted a work environment where I could be with my kids in the morning and in the afternoon, drop them off at school, pick them up at school.
Right.
And the sales career played very well into that. And so I took advantage of that. And of course, as long as the numbers are there, you can continue to do what you're doing. So I just ensure the numbers are there, and that's always been the case. And I've been fortunate that I have a great clientele and I continue to work with them. So do proposals at night and pick up the kids at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, what's that saying? Prospect by day and quote by night.
Yeah. So I did that. I mean, I was very, very much a part of that. Or get up early and do what you need to get done. And the business world is open from 8 to 5, so that I pick strategic hours within that to telemarket, to cold call in person, to do what I need to do. And then if I do need to go into the office, I can do that at the same time. Right. But not a lot of, there's not a lot I need to do in an office. And I learned how to do most of what I needed to do outside of being in an office.
Got it. So since you've been working remote for 15 years, what are your thoughts on continuing virtual meetings? Or do you still want to maybe have a mix of, hey, I need that first appointment on site, and so I can see, or just still keeping everything remote, or doing a hybrid?
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. What COVID has done has made it so that my clients and my prospects are more accustomed to Zoom. Uh, Previously, they were not really excited about doing it, including my own company. And now we're all very much accustomed to the format.
Right.
And of course, it makes much more sense to have virtually every meeting in person. But logistically, that makes it really challenging, especially in the Bay Area and even where you're at. Probably anywhere. You want to go to a meeting, it's an hour. And so I can do a meeting in 15 minutes. And that 15-minute meeting takes me an hour, hour and a half if I have to have my physical body in the same room. And there's some value to that, of course. I build relationships. I am able to see things that I'm not able to see in a Zoom meeting, but there's a trade-off. So if it's a large opportunity, large is defined as what, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 and above, I'll probably want to be in front of them at some point.
Right. I agree.
And then for small meetings, I don't necessarily need to be in front of them, especially with those clients that I've developed a relationship with. I've been working with many clients for 10, 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can just say, hey, let's get together and talk. It's kind of like we're in the same room almost. And they're now accustomed to Zoom format.
Right.
And we're off and running.
I love it that you use the word client instead of customer.
Thank you.
One of my pet peeves is to call them clients. They're clients. And I think it comes across much better when you're talking about your clients rather than your customers.
Yeah, as a consultant, that's truly what I do. Is I help them manage their business. They are clients, and they're not. They're obviously they're customers, but the way I position it, or way I think about it, is clients. Just like in a restaurant, when I ran high-end restaurants, they were guests in my restaurant. So I would have a guest in my restaurant.
Right. Hey, so how about other services? You guys do IT services, content, backup. Is there anything else you guys do away from just print?
Yeah, oh yeah. So Kyocera owns DataBank, which is one of the largest companies to resell Highland, which is a scanning software, high-end scanning software like Laserfiche, et cetera.
Right.
The scanning services that are around that, so the labor to go into businesses. Currently, our offices do not offer IT consulting, but several of the other Kyocera offices do, and we're moving that direction. So I would say that we will be in the IT sector soon, but we're not there now. And definitely document management and what we call professional services. So anything around secure print, secure scan, whether it's Canon or Kyocera, MyQ or Uniflow, as well as SciGen, DocuWare, Square9, document management software. That's a real growth area for us right now, and I've been focused on that area for a long time.
Yeah, I know. I think you're pretty much my go-to guru for scanning applications, correct?
Yeah, so I will position myself as a scanning expert. Scanning is often got lots of questions when it comes to businesses. They say, oh, it's something we should look at. Don't really understand optical character recognition or zonal OCR or regular expressions. How does all that work? And I've explained it many, many times. And so it's a part of the business that needs to be addressed. And especially in COVID world, the pain was real for people, right? They could not get to their documents. They could not get to their file cabinets. So today more than ever, you can emphasize that pain and create a sales cycle out of that. Those sales cycles are very different than copiers or printers. They are several months long, and they require many different stakeholders in the business. And so that makes it a much more difficult sale. But again, balls in the air, right? To get this sales cycle, that sale, just get 5 or 6 or 10 of those going. They take months to get done. Do this over, all of the different facets of the industry, and then, of course, once you are accepted into that business to work with them, you're now a trusted advisor and you really will be with them a long, long time.
Absolutely. So how about, where do you focus your efforts? Sales, majors, SMB, production, or do you run the entire gambit?
When I'm prospecting, I look for companies that are 100 to 1,000 employees.
Okay.
That's a population size where typically they'll have 4, 5, 10 copiers. They tend to be the most, the quickest sales cycle, that is the most profitable. Above that level, businesses tend to be educated and have educated buyers, and so the profit margins are smaller. I do work with those folks, because once you become an established vendor for them, it's almost like you're an order taker. But again, not a lot of profit in each transaction, and so you look at selling somewhere between 5 to 20 copiers a month. That gives you the 50 to 100,000 a month, which pays the bills and sends you on vacation. And you just do the numbers to make sure you're there.
Yeah,
and if it's one copier with a little mom and pop business down the road, no problem. I'm just not going to give them too much of my time. I'll time versus opportunity, and I make certain I quote my time appropriately.
And what's that saying? It takes as much effort to sell one machine as it does 10 machines.
Yeah, and I've focused also on those businesses that are corporately based in my territory. So if there's a corporate headquarters in my territory and I'm able to facilitate a sale through that, then chances are the rest of those offices will follow suit. And I just have to manage that piece of the business for them here locally, make certain I'm communicating very effectively. And again, you become an order taker for those outer offices. A little bit of a profit loss because we have to compensate the dealers that are doing the installation, but it's not so bad to pick up the phone and when the customers say, or clients say, hey, we need 3 more. Oh, okay. We need 1 in Chicago, 1 in Atlanta, and 1 in Miami. Okay.
We can do that.
Yep, absolutely.
Hey, so what was it? How were sales for the last 12 months?
I focused on the lease portfolio and refinancing a lot of equipment. That's extending terms, changing contracts, reducing service contracts, moving things around to accommodate the COVID world. And most of the large companies that I work with, they stood still and did nothing.
Yep.
They just waited for what right about now, and they're all that sort of pent up buying is now happening. Now they're looking to refresh their fleets, to expand, etc.
Right. Yeah, I still have some in Jersey. Just just waiting. I mean, I've got a few that says, you know what, we're just going to get back at it in the fall. We're gonna try and go back to normal in the fall.
Yeah, and of course, that no one knew what the future held, so it's right. We're just gonna sit tight until we have a better understanding of what the future holds.
Right. And so how about that?
I would approach them and say, well, it looks like you're paying $1,000 a month. If we just extended the term another 12 months, your payment would be dropped. That it looks like the equipment's not being utilized this year. So we've got another year of useful life left in it. Why don't we go ahead and do that? We can save you some money now, and we're not going to decrease efficiencies in the future.
Got it. So how about the last 3 months? Pickup? You seen a pickup?
Oh, yeah. Good. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like I say, the major players are now engaging me, wanting to talk about growth, wanting to talk about refresh, there's more smaller businesses that are reaching out, that are looking to make changes, that are long-term changes now. Okay. Previously, they were too scared to make a long-term change.
Right. So 2020 was better than 2019 for you?
No. Okay. No, definitely not. It was not. It was a different strategy in 2020. It was a refinance strategy for the most part.
Got it.
2019 was refresh, build. Anyone in here in California, we could not cold call in person.
Right.
Many people have asked me in my career, what's what's the magic ingredient that makes you successful? And the magic ingredient is you cold call and you telemarket and you send out snail mail and you send out emails, and you put in the hours, and the more money you want to make, the more hours you put in. It's pretty simple.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So for finding, so I mean, I know what you said about the refresh on the, you know, for 2020, but did you do anything differently to find net new business during the pandemic?
Uh, I leveraged LinkedIn more than ever. So since
Okay.
I'm not able to go out into the world, um, and I've always focused on the internet and the tools that are available to determine who buyers are. So, I mean, it's not rocket science. You identify the target, which is business ABC.
Yep.
Then you identify within the target who are the players. And so LinkedIn solved that problem with some research and some thought around it. And then you engage
Right.
and deploy email, snail mail, and of course snail mail is fairly ineffective up until now because everyone was working from home, so
Right.
they didn't get that mail. But you couldn't cold call, so it was primarily telemarketing. And I've always thought that telemarketing was a much more efficient way to begin the sales process than in-person cold calling. Both work, but the telemarketing is more efficient.
Right. Right. So I'm going to switch over to appointments now. And is there a certain Midas touch, I mean, that you rely on that gets you the appointment more times?
So you're calling them appointments, I call them visits.
Okay.
And I don't have meetings unless it's important. Then I have meetings. So long ago, I started calendaring everything, and that would put my visit with them on the calendar. So again, pre-COVID, when I discovered what I thought was an opportunity, I'd say, why don't I pop by for a visit? And let me throw that on the calendar. How about, what works best for you? How about Tuesday 10? Tuesday 10 works great, or we could play the Tuesday 10 or 2, whichever works best. And once I had got a verbal on that, then I would send them a meeting maker. It'd be in their calendar, it'd be in my calendar, and that always works best.
Right.
There's no magic around
So
it.
you do more of a planned prospecting and not more of a willy-nilly type, make 100 phone calls in a day or make 50 phone calls in a day. You're more methodical about who you're going to call, what they do, who is the right person that you're trying to get in touch with.
Absolutely. So again, it starts with identifying the business.
Right.
So look in your territory and identify those businesses that have between 500 and 1,000 employees, and that's not hard to do. So once you've, or maybe a little bit more than 1,000, maybe 1,500, but once you've done that, you know what the company name is.
Right.
Then you can jump on LinkedIn and start to look for, depending on the industry, when we all know that in a school, it's going to be the procurement, in IT is always involved in every industry. Depending on the industry, there's different people. In law firms, there's the firm administrators, they're involved. And so each industry has its own sort of buyer, and that changes over time as well. So and if you don't know who the buyer is, then it's a matter of picking up the phone and asking them who the buyer is and how you do. So now you have to get really good at the phone. So you call them up and you say, hey, I'm so-and-so, and this is the services that we provide. I know that you use those. I'm guessing that you're working with XYZ company.
Yep.
Are you that right person? And then if it's a gatekeeper, then you have a rehearsed a pattern for them. And the pattern is often repeating what they've said and then empathizing with it and then asking one more question. And so it could go something like you call them up and they say, we've already got one. We're really happy with our vendor. And then you would echo that back. I understand. I talk to people all the time that are really happy with their vendors. Sorry, I interrupted you. Can I just ask you one question? bang, you've now asked a question. I've found that very often when I do that, that one question leads to three. And that's what I'm looking for. That was really, I sort of overcame that initial objection and I got my answers. Great, thank you. You're being very respectful and kind to them.
Yep.
You're documenting exactly what you did. You've got the information you need. And then now you're off to the next step. You've identified maybe who the buyer is. Once you get to the buyer, you call the buyer and the buyer says, I'm really busy. And you say, I get it. People call me when I'm really busy all the time too. I just have one question for you. Are you working with Xerox and is your contract up right now? And chances are you're going to get some of those answers.
That's an excellent tip, excellent point. It just brings us back to what we learned in our rookie years, right?
Yeah, so I re-educate myself all the time. I'm reading books all the time and constantly working on that. And those things work. And if you don't, that anxiety about being pushed away, if you don't have very rehearsed responses to those, then you're not going to be happy. For me, when I hear people say stuff, I just laugh inside and I think, oh, I know how to deal with this. This is what I say, and it works. It works, once in a while you get somebody who's rude, but for the most part, people are, and then the magic statement, can you help me?
Absolutely.
All you gotta do is just say that,
right.
and then wait.
Sometimes,
Hey, I wonder if you can help me.
Yep.
And then sit there and wait, and they say, sure, how can I help you? Yep. And you're off and running.
More often than not, when I'm calling for the first time to an account, I'll get on the phone. I'll say, hello, I'm so-and-so. I'm a first-time caller to your company. And I was curious if you could help me. And then it comes across,
perfect.
Sure. What, how can we help? And all of a sudden, the information comes. Be nice, be courteous. If you don't ask, you don't get, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Then sometimes, add something like, I'm a first-time caller, or, in New Jersey, it's about 98 degrees here, and the humidity is about 90%. So maybe say something about the weather, you break the ice, you get what you need. Right? Right. Interesting. That's cool. Good job. Good stuff, Monty. Hey, so is there any feature, app, or third-party solution that you try and recommend to all your clients?
Not to all my clients.
Most.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as soon as we are engaged to get a print scan solution, of course, I'll go right to security and some sort of print scan software that allows for security and print release, follow me printing or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And that's not that was a sort of uncommon characteristic for businesses, and just about everybody is moving that direction, primarily for convenience, but there's added benefits of security and cost savings and those sorts of things. But primarily, it's just an easier way to work. For IT as well, IT doesn't want to take care of print servers, so you can just push this to the cloud, and the cloud is now their print server. So the cloud is your friend.
Got it. So we're going to move off to hardware. Any issues? Getting? Not getting?
I'm sorry?
Are you getting too much hardware now, or you having issues like everybody else?
No.
That you can't get enough hardware?
No, everybody's on back order everywhere. You name the manufacturer, they're on back order. I mean, we see it. It goes through cars, it's through plumbing, it's through every industry. I have right today, I probably have $200,000 or $300,000 worth of equipment that's in a back order status. That's not, the delivery of it will be much different than it would have been a year ago. So, and everybody knows that that's the way it is. We see it on the news, and everyone understands. It's just a little frustrating for folks.
Well, you probably see it more in California because you've got the two great big ports of entry for the United States from stuff coming from the East.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't see the reporting for the Midwest or the Coast, but I would assume that it's not too different. I'm talking about importing from other countries. So countries, the transportation lines between countries are are really backlogged right now, and so there's a problem throughout the world.
Got it. So security, let's talk a little bit about security. Are you talking more about MFP security with your clients now than maybe prior to COVID? And not because of COVID, but maybe because of all the recent ransomware and malware events?
Yeah, that hasn't, the malware and ransomware events have not created awareness in my client base, but, or prospect base, but security is, and it may be sort of related or not, I'm not sure. But I can talk about print security and get an audience around it much more today than I could 5 or 10 years ago. 5 or 10 years ago, if you were installing a Follow Me print solution and a scan solution that was similar, that was driven by PIN or ID badge, then it was a challenging conversation. And today people lean forward in that conversation a lot more, which is good, because it's from a selling perspective, it adds another 10 to 15% to the same transaction. And if they're used to using your strategy, your software, then the upgrade path will be more sticky.
Right.
If they're using Canon Uniflow, they're not going to move away from Canon Uniflow. They're going to stay using Canon Uniflow because they're familiar with it and they've invested a bunch of time to learn how that software works. So they're not going to move away from it.
Anything hot for you right now, whether it's product or hardware, apps, solutions?
Well, I developed a software product called CC Scan several years ago that scans to the cloud. It's a piece of software, excuse me, that's independent of Canon and Kyocera, that allows you to scan to Salesforce directly.
Really?
And Salesforce users have an issue with taking a piece of paper and attaching it to a Salesforce record. It's not difficult, it's time consuming to do. It's a multiple step process. And so if there are lots of pages that need to be attached, then there's a lot of time spent to do that. And this software is less than $1,000 annually, and allows the user to streamline that activity to save time. That's all it does, is save them a little bit of time. And very often when people see that savings, they just jump on it right away. I've heard many times in the last 2 years, oh my gosh, this is a huge time saver. I wish I'd known about this before.
Nice.
So Salesforce continues to grow its empire over the world. The problem keeps happening. And I have IT consultants from all over the world calling me, Deloitte and on and on and on, and Blue Wolf, and companies that advise other companies with software, specifically Salesforce. And all the time people are reaching out to me for that solution.
Cool. So anybody who's listening to this is interested, they can reach out to you at...
Yeah, just go to the website, CC Scan, just Google that, Charlie Scan, one word, and then you'll see the website, and there are tutorials, and you can download a free version of the software to trial. And it works with every scanner on the market, so it's manufacturer agnostic, sort of e-copy without the e-copy button in. You don't need an e-copy to do this. This is kind of how the idea came about, because I sold a ton of e-copy back in the day.
Oh, how I miss e-copy.
Added a good number to each sale. And again, you had the customer using your product. They were used to your workflow. When they went to upgrade, they just looked to you and said, well, you take good care of us. We want to stay with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're getting to the end, but curious, since you're really, really tenured, really, really knowledgeable, if you could add one new feature to a multifunctional device, what would you add?
Boy, I think, well, if you had the ability to scan to the cloud seamlessly from the device itself.
Okay.
So we're all using, or for the most part, we're all using Google Drive, Dropbox, Azure S3, Microsoft, Salesforce,
Right.
etc. We all businesses, Box is another one. We all use that. And then we look to the copiers as the on-ramp for scanning. And so if we could have that from the user interface, intuitively select documents and extract metadata from them and put them in the right location in the cloud with the right name, I think that would be a real time saver. That's what CC Scan tries to do. And it does it from a Windows device.
Right.
But really what the users want is they want it to be from the control panel. That's where eCopy really was smart. They took, really all they did was take their software and put it on a PC and sit it right next to the copier, so that with a touch screen. And that's what the users want. They want to walk over to the device, put their documents in it, touch the screen, and then voila, the magic happens around that. And so that's I think where we're going.
Neat. Yeah. So how about in your 20 years, you got a cool short story you could tell everyone?
Oh, geez. I just told this story to, I got a million of them, right? From cold calling. Cold calling is an adventure unto itself.
You never know.
You have to have thick skin, so we all have great cold calling stories. So I'll tell you my cold calling story. It was in downtown San Francisco. So I ran a sales team that had 8 people on it. We did, the whole office had 64 salespeople.
Right.
100 million we did a year. And wandered into an office one day and the receptionist wasn't there. No problem. I'm going to walk to the back. And I walk to the back. The guy stops me and says, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm looking for the copier." Yeah, this is down the hallway. So he points me down the hallway. Here I am down the hallway doing my reconnaissance. Sorry for the dog. And there's the copier there. There's a segment 4 there. Oh, there's another segment 4 over there. Wonder what else is here. And I start wandering around. And I find this corner office, and there's a gorgeous view of Market Street, which is the main street in San Francisco.
Right.
And I'm looking out the windows of this. It draws me in, and looking out the windows. And all of a sudden, the owner of that office walks in the door, and he's the CEO of the company. And he said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm Monte Jensen. I'm with blah blah blah." And he said, "I said, who are you?" And he said, "Oh, I'm Joe Schmo. I'm the CEO." And I said, "You're just the guy I wanted to meet. I apologize for just walking into your office unannounced, but I really appreciate your time, and I'd like to come back and visit with you," and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And I ended up closing about 30 grand.
Really?
The talk's going crazy. My dog loves the story too.
Sometimes right place, right time, right?
Yeah, well, you don't get a hit unless you go to bat.
That's right. That's right. Hey, so new reps entering the industry, or our rookies. What's one piece of knowledge that you could share with them?
Be the first in, be the last out. Just work really, really hard the first 18 months, and it'll pay off in spades. But expect to do that. Don't just show up and wander through. I would put in the 8 to 10 hours a day, knowing that it's going to pay off in years 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yep,
I agree. So everyone, I'm here with Monte Jensen. Monte, thanks so much for your time. And just everyone, if you like the video, if you need to reach out to Monte, you can get a hold of him at, how do we get a hold of you, Monte, especially for the CC scan again?
Sure, you just go ahead and call my phone number, 415-286-1127, or you can find that website at ccscan.com.
There you go. And for everybody watching, if this is going to be on YouTube, then it's going to be on the Print for Pay Hotel site. I'm trying to get up to 1,000 subscribers. So if you like these videos and you want to see more, please subscribe. And we'll be back again next week with our next guest. Monte, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for your time, Art. Always good
All right.
talking with you.
Take care, buddy. Bye.